Nothing symbolises the rapid technological progress of the 20th century more than the change from horse-drawn to motorised transport. But whereas the names of many of the early motor manufacturers are still familiar, like Austin and Morris, few people know that back in the 1920s they had a serious rival. Born and bred here in the heart of the Black Country, the Clyno. The Clyno was set in motion by engineers Frank and Aylwin Smith, operating out of a small factory in Wolverhampton in 1923. By 1929, it was all over. The company had folded, yet within that brief heyday, they produced a highly popular and highly affordable family car. Yet for the modern driver, let alone the modern family, the Clyno presents a few challenges. And the first is getting in. It's a bit of a squeeze. There's only one seat, unadjustable, with just room for two people. Though, if two's not company enough, there is a dicky seat in the boot. Now, to start up, switch on the ignition switch and operate a floor starter. There's a starting handle right up at the front as a backup. I think we're ready to go. Oh, well, almost. When you were in town, you'd get your petrol from the pump. But when you were in the country, you'd get it from village stores in cans. In fact, it was normal to carry a spare can on the running board along with the battery. Whatever we think of the cleanliness of petrol today, the stuff we have now is pure nectar compared with what they had back then. There were quite a lot of impurities in it, it could be of poor quality, and that, coupled with the amount of oil swimming around in the engine, meant you had to take your Clyno to the garage for an annual decoke, a process of removing the carbon gunk that had built up in the engine. In fact, keeping your Clyno going meant keeping a close relationship with your local garage, unless you were a mechanical whiz. You'd need the oil and water levels checking every trip, the spark plugs cleaning every week, and all manner of greasing and lubrication. Right, I think we're finally ready to go. Now, back in the 20s, cars didn't share the universal pedal arrangement we take for granted today. In the Clyno, the clutch is on the left, but the brake pedal is on the right, and the accelerator pedal is a tiny thing buried in the middle that you need a sort of ballet dancer's footwork to operate. The gear lever is conveniently hidden under my right knee. 3 speeds and reverse. Now, let's get started. Oops. Oops. Ah. Into gear. We go. Rather gentle engagement of the clutch is required, and then after a very modest dose of acceleration, you're ready for second gear. Now, you should hold on for second as long as possible, because there's a great yawning gap between second and third gear. You really need to be on the open road to build up speed. Of course, if you're a member of the Black Country aristocracy and you've got your own private road with a clear run, you should be able to hit 40 miles an hour. Right, that's all 1,368cc working, I think. Driving a car like this does require quite a bit of effort and attention. You've got to plan ahead because braking's distinctly gentle, although you do have brakes on all 4 wheels. And there's a crash gearbox, that's no synchromesh. So when you're changing down, you have to double declutch, engage the clutch again to get all the gears in the gearbox spinning at the right speed. There's no power steering, obviously, but steering's not too heavy once you get going. It's not massively comfortable in here, though. There's no heater, so on a winter's day like this, you're reliant on the heat from the engine to keep you warm, which means it can get distinctly chilly at the giddy heights of 32 miles an hour. Swapping your modern car for one of these would be a bit like swapping one of these for a horse and carriage. Still, it's huge fun to spend a day with one. They're deeply involving, full of character, and a hoot to drive.